My name is Pete Grillo. I am the CEO of Iterasi. Iterasi is in the business of website archiving. Similar, if you're familiar with the Internet Archive, very similar in concept. We do it for businesses. So why would anybody want to archive their website? Well, there's really two drivers there. There's, in some industries, there's compliance and regulatory issues to conform to. So that's sort of a, you have to do it because the law or the government or agencies such as FINRA require, which is the Financial Regulatory Agency, require that you do it. So that's a whole category of business for us. Another category would be sort of litigation protection, so in use in e-discovery. So very familiar there to email archiving, pardon me, where companies will archive their email to protect themselves and so on and so forth. So that's the marketplace we're in. Not the one we started with, but one we've evolved to. I like to say that about startups. You think you know what you're doing when you get started, and the world changes out from under you, or you realize the little thing you're doing over in the corner is really the jewel of the value of what you're doing, and so that's what we've discovered. So we've taken a path to get here, which, having done a few startups in the past, I always think the next one I'm going to get it right, coming out of the chute. And it turns out I don't have a clue. I have a clue, but it changes out from under me. So anyway, that's what we do. Where did we get the name Iterasi? Well, it's really hard to name a child or a cat or a dog. It's really hard to name a company too, because you have to deal with URLs and all the good ones are taken and all that. So we started playing with words that sounded interesting. So we came up with Iterasi, which in some language is actually analogous to iteration or repetition. So that really sounded interesting, because what we were doing was, it has a dual meaning. We were archiving web pages, so we would sort of bring them back. That sort of had an iterative quality. Plus, it was an iteration because it was the same CEO, a lot of the same engineers, a lot of the same investors, the same corporate counsel, the same patent attorney, and it was just like, we're getting the band back, we're going on tour, and when I went out to fund this company, actually everybody was very enthused. Oh, we're going to do it again, how fun, so it was easy to get the engineers on, it was fun to call the attorneys. The investors, jumped right back in, they remembered not just their return, which by the way was like 11 times their investment, but they also remembered sort of, the relationship that we had. A lot of investors, the good investors, are the ones that have done it before, and they like to work with entrepreneurs. Much as I had missed, the battle and the challenge and the journey the time I had off between jobs, between companies, they're the same way. So sort of they live vicariously through me, and I live vicariously through them. So it was just a lot of fun. Yeah. So it was fun to get it going again. So my first startup was called Pro Tools. I did that with another guy named Jeff Irwin, and it's not the Pro Tools you may be thinking of, which is I think a media production product. It was actually a network analyzer product. Before that, actually, we had a consulting firm, and we wrote a lot of code for Intel and Microsoft and IBM, and out of it we came up with an idea of a network analyzing product. This is like a packet sniffer, right? And we started building a prototype, and then we had, I think, about 20 people at the time, all software engineers, all slinging code. And we hired another one and said, okay, your job's going to be to work on this product because we think there could be something here. We did all the early stuff. We got a PR firm. We did some beta stuff with their guidance, or a marketing firm. Ended up raising money in August of 1989. We raised $2.7 million, and it took 4 firms to come up with that much money. Now that's like an A round for one firm. And anyway, so that company was eventually acquired by Network General, which became Network Associates. So that was fun, and so we made some money and had a lot of fun doing that. Then I went to work for Intel for a while, which was great. I had worked there before, and I owe a lot of what I know about managing people and managing results. I learned at Intel, so it's one of the greatest companies in the world, and I owe them a lot. I wasn't exactly the best fit after having gone to a startup. That's my problem, not theirs. So anyway, I left that, and I had this great idea, I thought at the time, to do something with Java, because Java was coming out, and I thought, oh, Java, this is the answer. This is what everybody's looking for, this portable, independent language. And so I jumped on that bandwagon early, raised some money, did that. That product kind of flopped, but in the process, I discovered handheld devices, and this was largely Palm was the real hot one in the 1998 time frame. And so we ported everything we were doing over to Palm and established a great relationship with them. The company it started out Plus Factor, then the product was Wesync, and the company was still Plus Factor. Then we just renamed the company to Wesync, and we sold that company Thanksgiving Eve of 2000, and so that was very fun. That was a good deal for everybody. Everybody was very happy, because if you remember in those days, the economy had started to collapse. The first bubble, what we thought was a bubble, nothing compared to 2008, but the high-tech bubble burst, and everybody got out with a good return on their investment. So that was a lot of fun. And then I took some time off and started Wesync. Started Iterasi in May of 2007. So it's been 3.5 years, which for me is a long time. The biggest hurdle was the economic crash of 2008. We were about 12 people then, and life was good. We were coming out of what was called Web 2.0 and a growing economy, and all of a sudden the world sort of financially ended, or at least went on hold there. All investors we all lived through it, but the investors got nervous. We didn't know how long it would last. Obviously, we didn't know how bad it would be, and so I had to lay off a lot of people and shrink the company to survive, the sort of death in business for 18 months. I remember calling people. We were all in the same boat, but I remember calling people and, hey, are we going to do something together? And they go, are you serious? We just laid off our developers or whatever. So that was probably, I don't know. Every one of these startups has something go wrong, but that was something I hadn't planned for. So we had to take the burn rate way down, lay off a lot of really good people, and survive. And we did it. And then we popped out the other end. And of course, the economy has too. So everything's in cycles. And so the cycle's up. We've got some key partnerships, and the future's so bright. I'm excited. Well, again, what's tripped us up has been the economy, I think. That I had no way of knowing that was coming. None of us did. And it certainly put a lot of strain on the organization, the business world. This is nothing new. Not a good answer. I have kind of a different background than many. This is my third startup, and I've had many of the same investors in the last startup are in this one. So I'm lucky enough to say that my investors are actually people I count on and consider friends and trust, and I think they feel the same way about me. And so the resources I use a lot are my investors. I'll pick up the phone and call them, hey, I'm trying to negotiate this deal and this is what I'm hearing, what do you think? And so I count on them a lot and we've known each other for so long, through my last startup was called Wesync.com, which sold 10 years ago. And so, I knew them through that, and that had its shares of ups and downs. And so we all sort of know how we'll react to the ups and downs. They know when I'm panicking. They know how to calm me down. When I do panic, and we all do. So it's a great relationship, and those are the people I count on the most. You can't. Your wife and family or whatever, significant other, they don't really understand. You don't want to burden employees with it, so it's really pretty much either other entrepreneurs or investors, but for me it's my investors. I'm lucky that way. We're moving from, this is obviously something I have to do, customers say, this is obviously something I have to do, but it hasn't hit critical mass yet. So it's sort of the curse of the entrepreneur. You're usually plus or minus some number of months or years early with a product. We're a little on the early side. We inked a partnership with LexisNexis, huge legal services company. This is a huge boon to us. And they're remarketing our product and doing a lot of sales and marketing with us. So we're getting over this hurdle, but right now we haven't hit critical mass to where the phone's ringing off the hook, but we're getting some really good leads and some very large Fortune 100 companies. So that's pretty exciting. So I think we're right at the abyss, and watch what you wish for it, and make come true sort of thing. What inspires me? I sort of get my inspiration from inside. I love what I'm doing. I love the challenge of, creating something from nothing. I've done it a few times. I can't seem to do anything else. I tried to be retired. That didn't work. So I found that the stimulation of the hunt is what I really like. And so, dealing with the challenges along the way and convincing others and just kind of crawling up the mountain. The most anticlimactic moment is like the hour or two after the deal closes, where you're like, wow, wait a minute, I should feel something. I feel great, but I feel empty at the same time. So I'm definitely of the mindset that the journey is the reward, and the battle, and I mean it in a positive way. It's not screaming and shouting battle. It's the challenges and digging deeper to solve the problems that just seem unsolvable, but then you solve them, and then on to the next one. So that's I guess my inspiration comes from within. I feel an obligation to everybody around me. That's kind of the inspiration, I think, that drives me. So, customers that committed to you, employees that committed to you. I pull people out of, perfectly good jobs with great benefit packages to come work at a startup with, kind of crummy benefits and lots of stock. And I say, come on, follow me. We're going to do something great. And, generally the engineers love it because, it's so unbridled, and they don't have to, write specs for months to just sling some code. And I don't mean it that way. We do good work, but they like the sort of the environment. I grew up as a software engineer. I was born, and the doctor said this guy's going to be a software engineer. So engineers generally are happy here because we're so engineering intensive. And so I feel the obligation. Then I certainly feel the obligation to investors because they've given me, millions of dollars, right? And I sort of don't want to lose their money. And that weighs on me and keeps me inspired at the same time. So it's kind of all those things, kind of gone out on a limb, taking this huge risk, dragged all these people with me, and I got to deliver the goods. So I'm sort of the mindset, failure's not an option. We'll just drill through any hole, any wall, we'll just blast through it. So. Who inspires me? I think I'm more inspired now that I've been through a few of these. I'm more inspired by struggling entrepreneurs that are young and really trying to build something, as opposed to Bill Gates or Larry Ellison or people that have already done it. I like to see people out there taking risks. I work with a lot of startups here in town. I get a lot of inspiration and I think satisfaction, which are sort of synonymous, right? Just by helping them and watching them, stick their necks out and sort of and win deals. And there's a lot of great deals going on in Portland. I'm very close to Urban Airship, but there's Puppet Labs and obviously Jive and just a lot of good things happening in Portland. And so I find. Which wasn't always the case. Portland had this Keep Portland Weird mentality, and I think it's now sort of found kind of a better equilibrium than let's just be a bunch of weirdos, let's be freelancers, which was most of what a lot of people were here. Now there seems to be real startups and people understand what they have to do to get the result. There's an influx of capital, investment capital, and I think that's pretty exciting. So all those things together, I think the community is actually acting and looking like a real startup community, and I think that's fun. So I enjoy it.